We all know that we need to adapt to survive.
Right, yeah.
Like that is basically business gospel at this point. But so there's this fascinating 50-year-old academic paper that reveals just this terrifying truth about human nature.
Oh, it really is terrifying.
Yeah. It says the better you are at your job today, the more biologically hardwired you are to fail tomorrow.
Exactly.
It turns out, the faster the ground shifts under our feet, the harder our brains just force us to cling to the routines we already know, even when those routines are like leading us right off a cliff.
It is such a profound paradox. I mean,
Yeah.
organizations spend millions, right, trying to innovate.
Right.
Yet they inadvertently cultivate these environments that actually punish the exact kind of thinking required to survive disruption.
Yeah.
So they're burning out their best people while, slowly rendering their own business models completely obsolete.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a really comprehensive piece of research by Dr. Jonathan H. Westover. It's titled Revitalizing Double Loop Learning from Conceptual Foundations to Organizational Transformation.
It's a dense one, but so incredibly valuable.
Yeah, totally. Our mission today for you, listening at home or on your commute, is to decode this brilliant management concept. Everyone in the corporate world seems to cite it, but almost nobody actually implements it correctly.
Very true.
By the time we wrap up this conversation, you're going to have the tools to spot the difference between merely putting out fires at work and actually rewiring how your entire organization thinks.
And to really grasp why rewiring an organization is so difficult, we have to start with this concept from the paper called skilled incompetence.
Skilled incompetence, just the phrase alone is great.
It really is. It was originally coined by the organizational psychologist Chris Argyris. And it basically describes a phenomenon where leaders and teams get so incredibly proficient at their established ways of working.
Right.
It's so highly skilled at executing their current routines that they become entirely resistant to asking if those ways are still the right ways.
Wow.
Yeah, their sheer competence basically becomes their most dangerous blind spot.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can, cure skilled incompetence, we need to understand the underlying mechanics of how we currently learn versus how we're actually supposed to be learning.
Right. The mechanics are key here.
So the paper takes us back to 1974, to the foundational research of Argyris and Schön, and they identified this massive gap that exists inside almost every professional and every company.
Yeah, the gap between our espoused theory and our theory in use.
Exactly. So what are those exactly?
Well, so the espoused theory is the shiny corporate brochure version of how you operate. It's the rules you claim to follow, like the core values painted on the lobby wall, right?
Right, like we embrace failure.
Exactly. We encourage out-of-the-box thinking. But then your theory in use is the actual set of rules that your day-to-day behavior proves you follow, which, by the way, is often completely unconscious.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So if a junior employee suggests a wild new idea and just gets publicly berated for wasting time,
Then the theory in use is actually do not challenge the status quo.
you got it. And when those two theories don't align, an organization defaults to what Argyris called a Model I theory in use, which produces single-loop learning, or SLL.
Okay, so if I'm understanding the mechanics here, single loop learning is essentially trying to fix a recurring error without ever questioning the overarching goal or the assumptions behind it.
That captures the essence of it, yeah.
Yeah.
In a Model I environment, the primary drivers are maintaining unilateral control, maximizing winning, and minimizing losing.
Right.
So when an error occurs, you just look for alternative actions to achieve the exact same goal. You tweak the process, work longer hours, optimize the existing system.
But you never stop to examine the foundational beliefs that built the system in the first place.
Exactly.
Let me try an analogy here. If you keep getting lost driving to work, single loop learning is just driving faster, or maybe taking a slightly different street to reach the exact same destination.
Right, just tweaking the route.
But double loop learning, or DLL, is stopping the car to ask, wait, why am I even commuting to this specific office? Is this job still the right fit for my life?
That is a perfect analogy. And what's fascinating here is that organizations, they don't have brains.
Right, obvious.
So their memory is physically encoded in their routines. Changing an organization requires changing those deeply encoded routines, not just having a cognitive epiphany.
Yeah, Westover's paper emphasizes that crucial dual requirement of DLL. It's not just an aha moment. It absolutely must include observable behavioral change.
It has to. Argyris was adamant about that. The only definitive proof of learning is action.
So if you realize the commute is ruining your life, but the next morning you get right back in the car and drive the exact same route, you haven't actually learned anything in the double loop sense.
Precisely. You have to systematically dismantle and rewire those encoded routines.
Which brings us to a massive structural problem. If double loop learning is so clearly superior for solving root problems, why is it practically a unicorn in the real world?
Oh, it is incredibly rare.
Yeah, the paper cites this fascinating hospital study, right? Mazur and
Oh yeah,
colleagues.
the 2012 study.
Yes, they observed 504 separate instances of improvement behaviors by healthcare staff. Out of 504 attempts to make things better, only 26 involved double loop learning.
It's staggering.
26? That means like 95% of the time, highly educated professionals were just tweaking the single loop.
Yeah, the transition from theory to practice just hits a reinforced concrete wall.
So what is that wall made of?
It's constructed entirely out of psychological barriers, specifically what the research calls defensive reasoning and routines. Human beings have this intense, unconscious drive to protect themselves from embarrassment, from threat, and from looking incompetent.
Right, nobody wants to look stupid.
Exactly. So in a standard Model I system, if you question the foundational assumptions of, say, a huge project that senior leadership loves, people don't view it as helpful innovation.
They take it as a personal attack.
Yes. And in response, they deploy defensive routines. This could be unspoken policies, bureaucratic red tape, passive-aggressive meeting behaviors.
Just anything to prevent the embarrassment.
Right. But by preventing the embarrassment, they simultaneously block any real learning from happening.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because the paper makes it clear this isn't just a personality flaw, right? Are we saying standard office politics are actually a biological response?
We basically are, yes.
Yes.
The text quotes a researcher named Noonan, who frames these defensive routines as an emotional heritage of the primitive fight-or-flight response. Yeah. In our evolutionary past, that autonomic response protected us from literal predators. Your heart rate spikes, your vision narrows, you get ready to survive.
But today, there are no tigers in the boardroom.
No tigers. But we treat a challenged assumption in a Tuesday morning strategy meeting like a physical threat to our survival. We lock down. We defend our territory.
And because it's an organizational thing, even brand new members quickly adopt these defensive patterns just to fit in.
Exactly. And the wildest part is the unawareness factor. Individuals are literally blind to the contradiction between their espoused theory and their theory in use.
They don't even know they're doing it.
Right. They demand out-of-the-box thinking. But the second someone challenges the box, fight or flight kicks in, they shut it down, and they genuinely don't realize they're being hypocritical.
That is insane. But okay, so we understand why we avoid DLL. It triggers our survival instincts. But what is giving in to that comfort actually costing us? Like, what's the toll here?
The organizational costs are huge. First, you get innovation stagnation. Companies get trapped in incremental improvement.
Just making the wrong thing slightly better.
Exactly. Then there's problem recurrence.
Yeah.
Because you're only fixing symptoms, the problems just keep coming back. Plus, you get strategic drift, where your strategy is totally misaligned with the actual environment.
And I imagine resource misallocation too, right? Over-investing in the efficiency of an outdated strategy.
Spot on.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate for a second here. Isn't fixing problems quickly, even if it's single loop, still valuable? Like, why the negative spin on efficiency?
This raises an important question. And you're right. Efficiency is perfectly fine for stable environments.
Okay.
But when you're facing a crisis or disruption, relying purely on single-loop systems creates what Argyris called a Model OI organizational system.
Model OI.
Yeah, the O stands for organizational. In a crisis, efficiency stops being about solving the problem and starts being about producing bypass and cover-up behaviors.
No, so you become highly efficient at hiding the failure.
Exactly. You become highly efficient at executing the wrong strategy while protecting your own department from blame.
That is dark. And it has real human costs, too. The paper mentions a healthcare incident reporting study by Stavropoulos,
Yes, that's a perfect example.
where fixing individual clinical settings, which is a single-loop fix, without changing the underlying structures, leads to continued preventable patient harm.
It's heartbreaking.
And the psychological strain on the staff. They suffer cognitive dissonance because they know they shouldn't use defensive reasoning, but they do it anyway to avoid losing control.
Right, which leads to massive burnout. But here's the good news. We can move from theory to practice. There are real-world triumphs where organizations broke the mold.
Let's hear some because I need some hope right now.
Well, Look at Microsoft's transformation under Satya Nadella. He shifted them from a defensive know-it-all culture to a learn-it-all culture,
And how did he do that without triggering everyone's fight or flight?
but modeling vulnerability. He explicitly confronted the defensiveness by sharing his own mistakes
What?
and actively inviting people to challenge his logic.
Oh, so if the CEO is safe, everyone is safe.
It's exactly. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory did something similar. After some major mission failures, they used rapid learning protocols to share assumption failures without defensiveness.
So they made it safe to admit you were wrong.
Yes. And in continuous improvement, look at Toyota. After the 2011 tsunami, they did a president's diagnosis.
Right, because their supply chain got wiped out.
Right. And instead of just rebuilding, they questioned their sacred, just-in-time, single-source supplier assumption. They realized hyper-efficiency was actually a liability in a crisis.
I love the technology examples in the text, too, like Amazon using machine learning for forecasting.
Oh, that's a great one.
So what does this all mean? They aren't just using AI to do the math, they are using AI as a mirror to show humans their own flawed beliefs.
That is precisely it. The AI surfaces the systematic flaws in the human forecaster's assumptions. It forces them into double-loop learning.
And Shell uses scenario and planning simulations to test strategic vulnerabilities, right?
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you also see this in lesson learning processes, like the U.S. Army's after-action reviews, or AARs.
Where rank temporarily matters less than truth-telling.
Right. And Pixar's postmortems, treating assumption failures as learning rather than blame. None of these organizations rely on chance. They systematically build assumption audits into their daily operations.
Okay, so having seen these examples, how can you, the listener, actually start building this into your own team's DNA tomorrow?
It requires recalibrating the psychological contract, shifting the implicit employee agreement from "you are responsible for having the right answer" to "you are responsible for questioning whether our current answers remain right."
That's a huge shift. And structurally, the paper mentions Buurtzorg in the Netherlands, right? The home care organization.
Yes, they literally eliminated hierarchy for autonomous, consent-based nurse teams.
And Google's Project Aristotle, which proved that psychological safety is the true key to team success. But, okay, let me push back here. It's easy to say eliminate hierarchy, like Buurtzorg, but for a listener in a highly traditional corporate structure, how do they create this distributed leadership without getting fired?
It's a fair point. For traditional structures, the text suggests embedding inquiry into performance evaluations. You reward people for finding disconfirming evidence.
Oh, so you actually incentivize proving yourself wrong.
Exactly. You can also create specific rituals, like quarterly learning forums. And reverse mentoring is a great tool, where junior staff are officially tasked with helping senior leaders test their assumptions.
Because it's an official program, it bypasses the defensive routines.
Precisely. The Interpublic Group advertising agency did something brilliant with this. They used immunity to change mapping
Right.
and the right-hand column method to uncover big assumptions.
Right. They discovered their teams secretly believed clients couldn't handle challenging work, and it was blocking all their creativity.
Exactly. Once they tested it, they realized it was a false assumption.
That is so powerful. Well, to wrap up, the biggest takeaway here is that double-loop learning is not some mystical, impossible ideal.
Not at all.
It's a highly developable capability, but it requires moving past our biological urge to be defensive, measuring actual behavioral change, and holding a mirror up to our governing assumptions.
And speaking of that mirror, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on that Interpublic Group example.
I love this. Let's hear it.
Think about your own upcoming work week. Imagine writing down the transcript of your next difficult meeting on the right side of a page.
Okay.
And on the left side, write down everything you are thinking but actively choosing to hide to protect your ego.
Oh, wow.
What big, unexamined assumption is hiding in your left-hand column right now? And what would happen if you finally tested it?
That is a brilliant question to leave off on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, keep questioning those assumptions, and we will catch you next time.